Welcome back to Tonight on Breaking. I'm your host, John Iwodi. Here are some of the events that happened this week. This week, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu celebrated his 100th day in office, and boy, does it feel like Nigerians have lived 6 different lives since he assumed office. Tinubu's first 100 days in office has been marked by a whirlwind of drama and action. While the president has launched numerous promising initiatives, his execution has been kind of shaky. For instance, Mr. Bola Tinubu boldly removed fuel subsidies, which on paper seemed like a good idea, but the lack of concrete planning and palliatives that ought to have been provided immediately after the subsidy was removed led to increased cost of living and hardship in the country. I mean, Mr. President,
let be poor, breathe.
Another significant move during these 100 days was Tinubu signing the student loan bill into law, aiming to provide accessible higher education for disadvantaged Nigerians through interest-free loans, which again seems like a good idea on paper, but the act only covers tuition fees. As a graduate from a Nigerian university, I know there are other things you have to pay for, like acceptance fees, accommodation fees, development levy, and library fees, among others, which are in thousands, by the way. I mean, this is like giving someone pounded yam without soup. Also, some of the qualification criteria for this act are just unrealistic. An applicant's income or family income must be less than 500,000 naira per annum. But hold on a minute. The minimum wage in Nigeria is 30,000 naira per month. So if both parents are working paying income taxes, then the family earns 720,000 naira per annum, and their child is not eligible for the loan. This means that really under this Student Loan Act, only one parent should be working, or ideally none should work. I mean, this Student Loan Act really encourages people to remain poor because that's the only way the kids can be eligible for the loan to get an education. Giving poor people loans, yeah, that's going to solve a lot of problems. Tinubu also, within his whirlwind 100 days in office, suspended the governor of CBN, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, who was subsequently arrested for fraud. Also in that time period, Tinubu removed the EFCC chairman Abdul Rashid Bawa from office, who was then arrested. While Emefiele faces charges, Bawa remains in custody without any explanation of why he's still in detention. Like, does he live there now or what? In the first 100 days, Tinubu was appointed as the ECOWAS chairman, but then the coup in Niger happened. So that's like getting Gary and someone pouring sand in it. Anyway, the first 100 days of Tinubu's regime have been a roller coaster, and we're all hoping that somehow President Tinubu and his team will step up and renew the hope of Nigerians as promised. I mean, let the poor breathe. Also on the news this week, the NLC finally decided to actually embark on a warning strike, leaving many of us wondering, why now? The Nigeria Labour Congress initiated a 2-day warning strike to protest the soaring cost of living due to the government's removal of petrol subsidies. The strike, which began on Tuesday, brought Abuja and some states to a grinding halt. No electricity, and banks, ministries, agencies, and departments were all closed to the public. And I say some states because workers in Lagos, Sokoto, Katsina, and many others shrugged off the labor action. Just like me, they are asking, why is the NLC going on strike now instead of during the peak of the first subsidy removal chaos months ago, when fuel prices were going up and down and people were basically trekking and sleeping in their offices in Lagos? Now, you might be asking, what did the NLC manage to achieve after the 2-day warning strike? Did they get fuel subsidies back? Did the price of petrol come down? No, ladies and gentlemen, the exact opposite happened. On Wednesday, at the height of the NLC warning strike, the federal government announced an increase in the price of prepaid electricity meters in the country. If this is what happens during a 2-day warning strike, I don't want to know what will happen during an indefinite strike. Also during the week, the Presidential Election Tribunal finally delivered its long-anticipated judgment on the petitions challenging President Bola Tinubu's election. I know what you're thinking. Was that still going on? Well, yes. If you remember, back in May, presidential candidates Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi separately submitted applications to the Court of Appeal seeking to challenge the results of the February 25th election, which declared Bola Ahmed Tinubu president. Their petitions centered on various claims, including the claim that Mr. Tinubu was not qualified to run for the presidency, citing discrepancies in his academic records, the election itself, and past legal issues. On Wednesday, which interestingly also marked Tinubu's 100th day in office, the Presidential Election Tribunal Court delivered its verdict, dismissing all the petitions, which basically means Tinubu remains firmly in the presidential seat. Oh my, I'm absolutely stunned. This development is earth-shattering. I mean, who saw that coming? This is shocking news. See that, folks? That's called good acting. I was pretending to be surprised. That's all for tonight on Breaking. I'm Iwodi. Have a nice weekend and let's do this again next week. Thank you.